Hey LinkedIn, welcome to another episode of Culture Jamming with your host, Geoffrey Callen. So, a couple weeks ago, maybe it was a week ago, can't remember, time flies so quickly, I got to see this really awesome film that I suggest everybody check out, that Viacom Velocity had produced. And first, hat tip or shout out to Eliza Esquivel, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, who works over on the Office team here at Microsoft, for bringing the Viacom Velocity team to showcase this film. And the film is called The Culture of Proximity. And it's very interesting. A lot of stats and statistics and insights that had been mentioned in my book, Disruptive Marketing, and a lot of insights that I think we're starting to see a little bit more as marketers in terms of how people are communicating with one another. So the big takeaway here, I think, is on the 4 reactive elements of culture that they had noted. Close culture, which is the culture we create with people around us. Deep culture, the subcultures that shared passions create. This is what Alvin Toffler had noted as a surfeit of subcultures. He was definitely talking about deep culture. Mass culture, which we're very familiar with, are the culture we consume together in society. And crowd culture, the culture we create together. So as I talk a lot about here on LinkedIn, we no longer live really in a read-only society. We live in a read, write, remix society, and I think that's what crowd culture encompasses. In any case, instead of me talking about the culture of proximity, I got to go deeper. I decided to interview 2 women that were involved in the research behind the film, Mary Kate Callen and Maya Peterson. So let's take a look at what they had to say in terms of the culture of proximity.
So the culture of proximity explores how people, brands, and celebrities are all occupying the same culture-making space. And that changes how people endow brands with authority. It changes our expectations of intimacy, and it also changes how people construct their identity, which is all really important when you think about how brands market to a young audience.
And brands in the past had to think about primarily getting their message out there. So how do I create this perfectly curated message and get it out to the maximum number of people? Then the imperative becoming content creators themselves and having more of a two-way dialogue with their customer base or with prospective audiences. Now we think that culture is the next part to crack. So how do brands integrate into culture, because that is the new mandatory for the way that your audiences really expect you to behave and expect you to be a part of this culture, because as Maya said, we're all part of the same mix. We're no longer separated by these arbitrary lines of you're a brand, you're a person. We're all sort of in this same space together. So being a part of culture is really a new mandatory, we think.
Mass media, which is brands and celebrities and government institutions, as well as media companies like Viacom. There's close culture, which is your closer in social contacts and network. There's deep culture, which is about your niche hobbies and expertise and skills. And there's also crowd culture, which is the collective conversation. So what we explored in the film was how all of these forces are collapsing into each other, which is the culture of proximity. They're all enmeshed now into the making of culture. And then we go through the 4 effects of the culture of proximity that we discovered in the film. It's conjoint culture, that people are brands and brands are people and people are celebrities and celebrities are closer to being normal people. It is new centers of gravity, which is about the fragmentation of influence and who holds authority. There's new intimacy, which is about our expectations of transparency from brands and from institutions. There is the filtered me, which is about construction and authenticity. And then there's a fourth Oh, that was
Yeah.
4. Okay.
So I do think there's opportunities for brands to think outside of and sort of create the world of what their brand means, which is not going to necessarily be a full consumerist message, and could have a social message or could have sort of just a weird message. So I think there's opportunity there, but I think it's a fine line in this world of expectations of authenticity and sort of people sort of sniffing out and hunting down things that they find to be, false. Yeah, the faux finding, mission of many people to find what's real and hunt it down, I think puts that strategy in a little bit of a tricky situation. But I think absolutely there's opportunities for brands to think outside of the consumerist message when they think about what their world is and how they would create it.
Wise words from Mary Kay Callen and Maya Peterson of the Viacom Velocity group around the film that they created, The Culture of Proximity. Definitely check it out on YouTube. I haven't decided if I actually want to take this show to Facebook. Facebook is launching this new Facebook Watch, which allows you to launch a show page, which is almost like the new brand page, where if you have a weekly show or a daily show, it can be hosted there. My only hope is that LinkedIn moves in that direction as well when it comes to business content. So Jeff Weiner, if you are watching this, that is my feedback. Launch some business channels on LinkedIn and allow some of your top voices to express themselves beyond the written word. In any case, for another episode of Culture Jamming, I'm Geoffrey Callen, and I'll catch you next time.